the one, the only Benzion. Good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun Benzion. Tonight we did Benzion Gittin, Daf Yud Aleph, number 11. I want to talk about something which is more like ideological, hashkafic, to prove something from the Gemara. The Gemara here talks about a lot of the focus in Daf Yud Aleph, talks about different types of names of people. Jewish names, non-Jewish names, halakha, that it's in fact better to have on a get that's written in a non-Jewish court the names that are specifically Goyish names, like Christian, Mohammed. You know for sure it's a non-Jewish person. There's no Jewish person who names himself Mohammed or Christian. Names like that are not confused. Therefore, if you would give over the get with Edom Masiro, we would not be a non-Jewish people. We know it would be given over with Jewish people. And that's why there's more leniencies because we pass in like Rabbi Elazar, Edom Masira Karsi, the main Edom are the Edom that witnessed the giving over the get and not the Edom signed in the get. The Gemara Yud Aleph and Beis discusses a case of a get which comes in front of us, and we don't know. It wasn't written by a non-Jewish court. People are signed on it. We're using the chasimos, right? As I think even according to Rabbi Elazar, you could rely on the chasimos provided there were legally Jewish names. The question is whether they're Jewish people or not. So that's what Reish Lakish asked Rabbi Yochanan. And if he's asking him, we're going to see from the Gemara in Eretz Yisrael, he was asking him. Rabbi Yochanan was stationed in Eretz Yisrael, so was Reish Lakish. And Rabbi Yochanan said, only if it's specifically like a name, like Christian and Mohammed. He uses an example of Lucas and Luce. I said Lucas. Lucas is a non-Jewish name. Louis, my grandfather's name was Louis, but I don't know. Luce is a different name. Lucifer or something like that. So that would be something. If it's a name like that, that's okay. Because again, if you can give it over with Jewish Edom, those are okay. But if it's an ambiguous name like Richard or Jeff or Harry or something like that, where you don't know if it's a Jewish name, there are a lot of people called, who have those names. Where I come from, modern Orthodox background, almost all my friends, we had both Jewish names, which were given at our bris, and we had in our, in our legal documents, we had different names. My name is Benny Jonathan, at least on American passport. So I did switch my name, but I'll talk about it at a different time. Listen to the main share. You want to hear the story behind that. But a lot of people I grew up and still goes on today have both Jewish names and they have non-Jewish names on the legal documents are the non-Jewish names. So when you sign a document, you're going to sign with your legal name. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan said that if it's an ambiguous name in Eretz Yisrael, it could be as Jewish, it could be as not Jewish. We're not allowed to use a get like that, because of Xera that we talked about through this daf, that you might come to use Edom Masira, which are also questionable whether they're Jewish or not. So then he asked from a Brisa. The Brisa says, the Brisa says, Eisive, Gittin Abba Medinas Hayam, Ve'edom HaChasum Aleim, Al Pi Shmosein Kishemos of the Kochavim, Ksherim, Misharov Yisrael, Shebechutz La'ar Shmosein Kishemos of the Kochavim. If the get is not from Eretz Yisrael, it comes from Medinas Hayam, let's say it comes from United Kingdom, it comes from the United States. A lot of people over there, like I mentioned, they have non-Jewish legal names. Their legal names are not specifically Jewish names. So therefore, and who's writing Gittin Hashem for a Jewish couple, right? We know it's the Jewish couple. We know who the people are. We're questioning the validity of the signatures. Are the signatures Jewish people or not Jewish people? If they're Jewish people, it's a good get. It's not. So we can assume it's Jewish people. It's an ambiguous name. Richard, Jeff, Harry, Harold, whatever the name is. We assume it's a Jewish person that signed on it. So Rish Lakish found this brisa to be difficult, or Rabbi Yochanan said. So Rabbi Yochanan responded, yeah, that's in Chutz La'aretz. The brisa is talking about Chutz La'aretz, where a lot of people, rove people, have both Jewish names and non-Jewish names. So therefore you can assume that it's an ambiguous name, a non-Jewish name. It was probably a Jewish person, so it's a kosher get. In Eretz Yisrael, that's not the case. In Eretz Yisrael, most people who live in Eretz Yisrael, they give Jewish names, right? Most people who are born in Eretz Yisrael, even I think the secular people, they give oftentimes Jewish names here in Israel. This is a Jewish country. Most of the time, that's the names that they give. Definitely Dati Lumi people also only give like a Jewish name if you're born here in Israel, which is very true. The question is, just ideologically, this happened to be the Gemara notes in a Brisa, which is a halacha based on that in non-Jewish countries like United States, United Kingdom, or any country like that, the legal name of the person would not be a Jewish name. So, there's a famous medrash which says that, that in Mitzrayim, that the reason that the Jews were saved in Mitzrayim is because They didn't change their names, they didn't change their clothes, and they didn't change their language, I believe. Um, so Mitzrayim was not a Jewish country. It was like America, the equivalent of America. So what was different in Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim, they had Jewish names. In America, they didn't have Jewish names. So that's why I'm led to believe that I don't think there's anything wrong with having a non-Jewish name and having a Jewish name also. And when it says in Mitzrayim that they didn't lo shinu et shmosam, doesn't mean they had Jewish name. All the kids were named Jewish names. They probably had a Jewish name and they had a non-Jewish name also, whatever was common in Egypt at that time. But the point of that is basically what the Gemara says over here. They didn't have explicitly non-Jewish names, but like name Christian or name Muhammad. Those are religious names after a different religion. Christian, is a Christian person, believing in Christianity. Muhammad is someone probably named who believes in Islam. So that's what it said. They didn't have names. They named after the idols in Mitzrayim, whatever the idols were, whether they were worshiping Paro or other idols they were worshiping. They didn't have names like that. Lo shinu shmosim. They would not lower themselves, even though they lower themselves to 49 levels of Tumah. They would not lower themselves to the level of using explicitly non-Jewish names that were for references to Avodah Zarah. And it says they didn't do. What does it mean? They didn't change their names, their clothes, their language. They were on the 49th level of Tumah. They were doing all the Averos in the whole Torah. So why are these three things any better? It just means these three things, they kept the halachas about these things. Right? You're not supposed to name your kid after a non-Jewish, an Avodah Zarah. That's an Isser in the Torah, to name your child after Avodah Zarah. It's also, there's halachas about how you dress. You have to wear tzitzis, you can't wear kilayim and things like that. I don't think it's specifically a specific type of dress that a Jewish person wears. Jewish people dress like everybody else. And in terms of the language, I don't think there's anything wrong. You live in America to speak English. Some people, only speak Yiddish. I mean, Yiddish is not even, it's not even Hebrew. If you're going to speak a Jewish language, speak Hebrew. But some people speak Yiddish. There's something forbidden about speaking a language. There's nothing forbidden about speaking a language of English. It means the halachas of languages, like cursing or things, or lashon hara or things like that. They were careful in those three aspects to keep the Torah in these three aspects. Not that they were this thing special, unusual in those things. It just means they kept the halachas about those things, while every other halachas like immorality and things like that, they were not as careful, and that's why they were on the 49th level of Tumah. Hope you enjoyed tonight's share. See you in the next one.